Thank you for having me to also, on behalf of one of Belgium's larger transportation and logistics companies, to also give you our perspective and our views on what we are doing with AI and technology today. So H.Essers is a transportation and logistics company. We offer transportation, warehousing, value-added services to our customers. We focus on two main segments, being healthcare and chemicals. So we have a rather focused strategy. So we try to be a one-stop shop for our customers. We are a family-owned company with a large footprint in Belgium. We are not a small company anymore. We are also not gigantic. I think we're just over €1 billion in revenue. We are some 7,500 people. So we employ a lot of people. We employ a lot of people in Belgium. We have a lot of locations. We have some 1,500 trucks, more than 4,000 trailers. Sustainability is an important part of our overall business strategy. We don't have a sustainability strategy, we say. We have a sustainable strategy. So we have been, as a front mover, already moving a lot of loads onto intermodal solution during the past few years. What is also interesting to say, and that's also probably why I'm here today, is that we also invest significantly in technology. It's an important part of logistics. Logistics is digital. Logistics is technology. It is very important. So we have about 150 people working on IT, which are also largely on our payroll, which is maybe also different than a lot of other companies in Belgium. Maybe a small view on what happened to AI. AI is new, AI is not new. AI basically started in the 50s when some academics started working on AI. It took a very, very, very long time before they were reaching actual first landmarks. It's only been in the end of the 90s that AI was capable of competing the best chess player in the world. And then it took another 23 years for GPT-3 to come out. And that's, I think, a pivotal moment in technology is the moment that GPT came out. And ever since, things have been moving pretty fast. We see a very rapidly growing market in AI. So ChatGPT had already 1 million of users in the first week, and currently they're already at 800 million weekly users. So that's enormous. And what's also changed is that, well, it used to be an academic thing, and now it's a big tech thing, which is also a point of attention. But that has meant that it's been moving forward a lot faster. It also makes it a lot more accessible for regular companies to use AI because they offer it as a service. So you don't have to go through all the burden of setting up the technology yourself. You can almost take it off the shelf and start using it. What a lot of people don't realize, today it's still highly financed by big tech. We're not paying the actual price for AI. I mean, big tech and investors are investing a lot today that is not reflected in the price of usage. And that is a point of attention towards the future, although things like DeepSeek, where you see cost structures dropping, I think then also make me hopeful that the cost structure will become realistic in the future. And then to AI at our company. So innovation and digitization is a part of our core. I mean, and if you're not doing it today, you will have a problem tomorrow. So that's what we realize genuinely as a company. So we also identified it as pivotal, and we have a roadmap towards 2028. And as probably almost every company today, it is on the roadmap working on AI. So, okay, how do we go about it, or how did we start it? And I think that's also interesting for you because you say we want the workers to be included. And I didn't know that you were going to say that. Of course, it makes sense. But then if you look at what we did, it's actually also what we have done, is that, well, we said, okay, we want to move forward, but how do we identify it, apart from the moonshot things, how do we identify where we can start and go ahead with it? So basically what we did is we included a lot of our people. So we did workshops with focus groups to have them identify where they saw opportunities. We had inspiration sessions towards everybody in the company. They could also call in. We explained them what was happening in the world, what were the opportunities for them, what they could do, how they could contact us. So we really included them. We provide them with status updates. Of course, we follow up on technology. And we also foresee training for our employees in using, and that's then the corporate-controlled Microsoft Copilot, which is actually GPT. But we also train them in, okay, how can you use it? How can you use it securely? What do you need to mind? You need to know that the answer can be incorrect. You need to think about that. Don't put corporate data into other platforms. We train them on that. So I think that's also an important thing for companies to do. I think that's our responsibility as well, because it will be an integral part of their lives, work lives, personal lives. So we also have a responsibility there. The initial runs that we did already delivered 87 project IDs. Fantastic, but we won't be able to do 87, maybe not 40. I mean, not all of them will survive. And I heard Dominic say that a lot of initiatives fail. I think important is also making a good selection of what you start on. I think that can significantly improve your hit rate. So that's what we also try to do. But if you don't have any ideas, you won't have any successes. So that's where it starts. What am I going to talk about? Well, I'm not going to talk about what the future might look like in 5 to 10 years. There's other people that will be able to tell you more about that or how they see it. In the end, we will see in 5 to 10 years, and it will probably be different than what anybody is saying today. What I will be talking about is how will tomorrow look different from today? So what are we actually doing? And I took 3 topics, which surprisingly more or less align with the previous presentations. I focused on document-related tasks. Why? Because of GPT, and I think that's the pivotal moment, and not AI in total. I think that's also important. Software engineering, and then I come back to where it started, to machine learning and recommender systems, because that's what people talked about AI 3 years ago. They were talking about this, and they were not talking about GPT, which is based on this. And of course, maybe it's interesting to also reflect on job satisfaction. And I am a positivist, an optimist. I think the first signs that we see are positive. So that's probably what also will be reflecting in my presentation. Document-related processes. Well, in logistics, we are dealing with loads of documents that people need to review, that people need to sign off on, that people need to interpret, and those tasks, and okay, I'm coming back to what's been said earlier, they are often not the most enjoyable tasks. They are prone to mistakes, and that's something that I haven't heard before, is people also make mistakes. Not only technology makes mistakes, people also make mistakes. And they have a high nature of repetitiveness, which increases the probability for humans to make mistakes. Probably in technology, it's going to be more or less linear, the probability of making mistakes. I think with people, the more repetitive it gets, probably the chances of mistakes become higher. There was already technology on this, and that's also interesting. A lot of the things we're talking about, algorithms and so on, people are talking a lot about AI today, which is actually general technology, and it's not AI, and they're mixing both things up. And those other things were already going 5 years ago, 7 years ago, so it's not all new. So there was already optical character recognition to read documents. There were already language processing models that could read text. They just weren't very good. And it took a lot of effort to implement them. And if you implement it for one use case, and then you couldn't transpose it to another use case. And what happened now with GPT, the pre-trained transformers, basically, well, they create exciting new opportunities because they are just a lot better than the technologies that were available. There were technologies available, just not as good as the ones we have right now. And the fact that they're available as a service in the cloud, that you don't have to set up all the IT systems in your own data center, well, that makes it a lot more accessible. And what happens is that, well, for working out use cases, you're going from months of experimenting to hopefully weeks of experimenting. That's what's happening. I took some examples just to make it tangible for you, or what could this mean? What are use cases that you could see in the near future? If you look at operations, well, people receive an email with a PDF and they need to make an order from it. Well, that's something that hopefully, well, we can automate easier with GPT. There's also a lot of companies that are integrated via automatic data interchange. That's the ideal world. This is for the use cases where that's not possible. Well, it's not the most fun activity, and it's the one that often goes wrong. If you look at proof of deliveries, the CMRs, you have to scan them, you have to make sure, validate them, which order are they correct or not. Well, AI can help you in detecting that. Same thing for packing lists. You can translate, summarize documents, but also for supporting services. You can help legal reviewing contracts. You can help the supporting departments when they get tender requests from customers, a document of 130 pages. How do I get the most important information for me out of it? You can, of course, support your marketing department. So there's a lot of possibilities to support people in their activities. I have one example of a thing that we have actually already built or realized, and you could call it an agent, or you can call it whatever. It's, as a logistics company, we process a lot of material safety data sheets. Some of you might know it, some of you might not. It's a document that says whether a product is dangerous, what are its characteristics, what is its flashpoint, is it an asset, and so on. So we have to review those. We have to review those to make sure that the products we handle them correctly, we store them correctly. And on the other hand, when a customer has an opportunity for us, they send us 5,000 safety data sheets and they say, now you know everything that you need to know to make us an offer. And then in a week, 2 weeks, we need to make sure that we get 5,000 documents analyzed. That's not easy. So that's an issue. That's also a lead time issue, not only a productivity or a cost issue, also a lead time issue. So we identified it as something pretty repetitive, something pretty standardized, and we tested it. And basically, we have built a solution to analyze and summarize those safety data sheets. We have spot-checked them, validate them against the manual interpretations, and the accuracy, there are mistakes, but the accuracy is higher than when we do it manually. We have already processed 17,000 documents in 6 months, basically. And it takes, on average, less than 50 seconds. And that's what we have built. It's pretty simple in the end. It's a document on a SharePoint. We use GPT to prompt it. Then we prompt it again to validate, well, are you really sure that the answers you gave us are in line with, well, if you cross-check that to the document, are you still certain that you gave the right answers? It's structured into a spreadsheet, and we move on. So that's the type of use cases where we are today. This is not life-changing, this is not business transformational, but it does make sense of doing these things. What is the second? And that's one that also came up, software engineering, where we actually, the thing is that we are talking about it right now, but our people started using it before we started talking to them about using it. What can it do? It can generate documentation, it can complete code, it can write automatic tests, it can help to find bugs. It's surprisingly good. There's also errors in it, so you can't fully rely on it. But we also did a questionnaire to our software developers. So, okay, first thing said, yes, we save up to 25% on some tasks, not on everything, so let's be realistic about that. 97% of the people believes it can help them. Our own software developers say, 97% say, okay, I want it. 62% are already using it on a weekly basis without us asking them to do so. And 23% of them, and that's interesting also, so it's also they benefit from it themselves also from in the long term, is they learn from it. They say, okay, the AI suggested things that I didn't know yet, and now I know them. So I just became better. So that's also an interesting thing. I'm not saying, yes, it might cost jobs, but on the other hand, I can say everybody is looking for software developers, so rather than losing jobs, it might solve a problem. I think that's also an interesting perspective. And I think that's in general also an interesting perspective. But it is just positive, and they like it. And I think they also realize that if they don't get onto it, it will be an issue in the future for them, in their careers, in the rest of their lives. traditional AI, machine learning, and I'll hurry up because I think I'm running out of time. So software, first of all, a lot of software vendors include this already in their software. So as a company, you don't build all of this yourself. Usually you try to buy smart software. You can also build it yourself, and yes, you're going to start from a basic model and you're going to enhance it when you train models, but you can also train your own models to make predictions and to do suggestions. But in contrary to the things I've been talking about before, this is not the low-hanging fruit. These are the more high-risk projects. This is where you have to invest a lot of money and a lot of time. They can be more transformational in your business. But this is not the majority of the projects I think most companies our size are able to work on today or are working on today. These are more the big tech company projects. How do we approach them? Well, first of all, I mean, we are a company. We need to survive. Is there a realistic business case? A second question is, do I expect a market solution to become available? If somebody else is going to build it, and that's going to be their focus, I'm never going to be able to do it as good as them, and then probably it also doesn't make sense. We also look, is there a lot of uncertainty to success? Because what I was talking about before, well, we did it. We knew it in 2-3 weeks, whether it was going to be successful or not. If you're going to build an entire trained model, it's going to take a lot of effort. You need to think up front, well, do I think that I have 90% of 90% probability of success, or is it, well, is it a long shot, and do I rather think it's 25, and then you need to think again, is it really going to be transformational for my company? Is it a game changer? And that's then the last question. I think if we're going to talk about potential use cases, and maybe what's interesting is, we're talking before about algorithms versus AI. A lot of the logistical problems that people would talk about is saying, oh, we're going to do everything automatic planning. That's, in the basic nature, it's an algorithmic question. It's traveling salesmen, and so there are a lot of algorithms to find you the one best solution. What have we been struggling with as an industry is that, well, our world is complex, and it's very difficult to capture it into an algorithm, and there's always going to be 5 reasons why the solution is not going to work. So that's what we have been struggling with as an industry. Well, we've been struggling with it for already 5 to 10 years easily. Those problems are not going to be solved easily tomorrow, and AI is not necessarily going to solve the problem of what is the one best solution. I think where it can help, and that's a different mindset, is incremental thinking and doing smart suggestions. Looking at a situation, doing a suggestion, doing a prediction, and saying, okay, this is what you could do. So what are we thinking about? Improving estimated time of arrival calculations. I mean, yes, you can train machine learning models on giving you percentages accuracy that they expect. Making smart suggestions to transport planners rather than plan your 30 trucks like this, saying, okay, you have already put these 5 orders on a truck. Which might be the next good one to put on there? That's going to be something that we can do with machine learning. When customers continuously send you incorrect orders and people correct them, well, that's where you can train machine learning on making a suggestion. Well, probably this is not right, and maybe it makes sense in replacing the address with this address. That might be the case. Doing damage detection based on images, seeing whether trails or trucks have been damaged while they have been used. Preventive maintenance has already been named. I think forecasting capacity requirements. I think that's where machine learning models can help. For supporting services, well, in my own shop, IT security tooling, I think there's a lot of benefit on AI in there. But also in finance departments, invoice booking, learning from how people have been booking invoices. How should this invoice probably be booked? Fraud detection, I think, for financial, seeing whether there are fraudulent financial transactions. I think that's where you can see traditional machine learning. But to be said, this is not the low-hanging fruit for companies. So we think very well before we start projects like this. And to wrap up, so I'm optimistic. I see opportunities. I share concerns. I think guardrails in general are important. I think EU is taking good steps on that. Also looking at privacy, I think That's why I explicitly put it there. I said, there's a lot of opportunities. I think the future is now. Maybe it's not as revolutionary as a lot of people think, but it is now. But don't forget about security and privacy, because I do think that guardrails are important around AI.